And welcome back. You are still watching Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. And of course, on Tuesdays, we usually have People in Politics. This is the only program that we discuss matters, politics, and how they affect you on a daily basis. Now, today, we are glad to have Gladys Shollei, who is the Uasin Gishu woman representative, as well as Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, who is nominated Member of Parliament under ANC Party. And just to start with you, Mheshimiwa Gladys, this is your first time to be here under this renovation. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful studio.
Right.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm always proud of KBC as our pioneer station.
Were you in Naivasha? Were you in Naivasha for the Safari Rally?
No, I wasn't.
But you watched?
I did watch. It was safer to watch it from television.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Osotsi, you were here last week.
Yes.
How was the weekend?
Well, it was a fantastic weekend.
Yes.
I had time to visit my home county.
Good.
Vihiga County. And as you know, is one of the 13 counties which are on lockdown. So churches are completely shut. Funerals, the numbers are regulated. So really,
are people following the protocol, the directive given by the government?
Well, yes, they are.
Yeah.
But it has a strain, economic strain on the people, because like markets have been shut. Really, it is really a big problem.
But all for the good.
All for the good,
Yeah.
but keep on telling the government is that I think priority should be on vaccinating Kenyans. Because they brought only 1 million doses, and we are about 40 million Kenyans. So if you delay or you don't have a clear program on vaccination, then we will get into some kind of a cycle, and the problem will go on and on and on, and we will not be able to resolve the problem. Because people are continuing to die.
Exactly.
Businesses are shut.
And people are getting impatient.
And as you saw yesterday, the Euros, I was surprised the
citizens
have allowed crowds in without the mask. It's because they have vaccinated their people. But here in Kenya, I don't know why we are not focusing on vaccination. If the issue is getting the vaccines, then Mutahi Kagwe should go for shuttle diplomacy to look for these vaccines, so that people are vaccinated, so that we are on the same level with what we saw in Euro 2020 on TV yesterday.
Mheshimiwa, what do you think about that? Because most of the western counties are affected, really.
Yes. I think I agree with Mheshimiwa Osotsi about lockdown is not a solution in itself. It's a temporary measure that should be taken to just control the pandemic. But really, in the long term, we should be going towards vaccinations of our people, so that we can open up the economy. Or else, if we keep locking down, we will end up having a collapsed economy. I mean, people must realize a collapsed economy is so bad. If anybody has been to Zimbabwe, people can't get petrol even if you have money. You can't buy food like rice even if you have money. It's a very painful process. Schools are closed, and because teachers are not being paid, or teachers can't even have the transport because there is no cars to take them to their workplaces. So it's such severe consequences that our first priority in Kenya now should be vaccination. That is the most important thing. And because if you vaccinate people, then you don't even have to worry about the cost of treatment. Yes, so lockdowns is not a solution. It should be a temporary problem.
And perhaps most people down in those, the remote counties are feeling the pinch because the cash flow, somebody said that the cash flow in those particular areas are slightly slower as compared to Nairobi. All right.
And I think an important thing for people to know is that even the way the vaccines have been rolled out hasn't been methodical enough. In other countries, it was clear. They said people up to this age, and they made sure they had cleared those people, and they had statistics of exactly who was there, and the country could tell. The minister would tell that out of the people within this age group that we wanted to vaccinate, so many have failed to be vaccinated, either because they've refused or they have other challenges, religious grounds, and so on. And then they would say, we are now moving to the next phase. In other countries, now they are going to high school students in Europe. So it's getting there. So we haven't had it methodical. If you look at when Mutahi Kagwe stands up, he doesn't really tell us how many people have been vaccinated, what's the reasons, and so on. So I think we need to step up as a government and take it as our #1 major issue.
Perhaps that would go a long way, because even kids, when they're coming out of school, they should be vaccinated in school before they come out for their holidays. Okay. So It's good to have you once again, and let's talk about get into it. We have the big battle starting today, and I know Mheshimiwa Osotsi was here last week, and he was quite so sure that BBI is going to sail through. That were your words, and you said, you know, you are not worried about it. But with you, Mheshimiwa, starting today from your legal perspective, and you have been a crusader of anti-BBI from the word go.
Yes.
Why are you against BBI? So simple.
Yes. I think I'm not against BBI. To put it correctly, is I am pro the rule of law and changing the constitution using constitutional means. I believe in following the law. So if you look at every protest I had against BBI, I had a law backing it as to why I disagreed with the steps and the processes that they followed. And I think I was vindicated by the, if you watch my YouTube videos, I was vindicated by the High Court. And I think right now the battle going forward, even though my colleague here says that they have no, they are very sure that they're going to win, it's easy to say that. That is bravado. But I want you to tell me specifically the argument. Tell me how you're going to be able to argue that the basic structure doctrine, which has been in the Commonwealth since the 1960s and is a precedent around the Commonwealth, is going to be overturned by the Court of Appeal. Tell me how the evidence that reveals that the BBI was a two-man initiative, which evidence are you going to give me to show me that was a popular initiative? Because we have a Gazette notice signed by the President. So the thing is, you know, and I'm saying this very cognizant of the fact that it's currently before the Court of Appeal. But remember, I'm allowed to discuss a case, provided I do not discuss the merits and demerits. But I'm basically saying it's one thing to say we are going to win, we have a great team. You know what? Even that great team that you have reads the same law that I read. Just the way I always said, sort of the comments I made about BBI is the same things the judges of the High Court said. But it's because we read the same law books, we read the same legal writings and scholarly works, we read the same text and the same law. Law is actually, I tell people, law is like math. 1 + 1 = 2. Except that in law it can be 2, 3 or 4. But even to maneuver which of the three answers takes away the decision. One other thing is that when people say we are going to overturn the decision of the Court of Appeal, it's a very simplistic way of putting it. Because remember, that ruling had 23 determinations. And you will have to overturn each of the 23 determinations one by one. Right. Even if you go, some people have gone to appeal, like for example, I think the President's lawyers have appealed on very specific points. Those are issues that they might succeed. But that doesn't change the fact that BBI was an unpopular was not a popular initiative and was unconstitutional. It may just clear the President on some of his actions that were declared unconstitutional. So it's not as simple as people put it.
Let me ask you, Mheshimiwa Osotsi, is it a bravado?
No, it's not a bravado. It's not a bravado. But I want to agree with you that it's going to be a huge contest because we can see the lawyers involved. There are some. I think
it's one of the newspapers.
Yes, this one. Some of the top lawyers in the country from both sides.
I'm missing actually.
Gladys is missing. So it's going to be a big contest.
She said that she's missing from the list.
Yes.
When he says top lawyers, I tell him not all of them because I'm missing.
Yes. Okay. and also it's going to be a legal drama that people are going to be entertained with the argument. And I think I can liken it to the Supreme Court contest in 2013 and 2017, where we could see lawyers from both sides putting up very strong arguments. So in this case also we are going to put up see lawyers from both sides arguing with very strong facts. On our side as BBI supporters, I want to say that initially at the High Court, I think our side was not very keen on what was happening. The case was poorly managed, but I think now they are prepared properly.
Yes.
To argue their points. As much as my colleague here, Gladys, is saying it's very difficult to overturn the ruling, I think there are a lot of issues in those rulings.
Yes.
Were very defective. For instance, when the judges appeared to be saying so and so can be a promoter and so cannot be a promoter, the Constitution does not explicitly provide that. The president is a Kenyan, just like you and me.
Yes.
He has the constitutional right to initiate a constitutional amendment process. He can be a promoter. But these judges were telling us that he cannot be a promoter. The judges were telling us that we cannot amend some parts of the Constitution.
Yes.
Even through referendum. So there are a lot of defective issues which I think our lawyers are going to capitalize on. And I'm hopeful that we are going to succeed.
Mheshimiwa says that it was not a popular initiative.
No. I think
it was a two-man show.
I think
referring to President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
No, I have a lot of respect my colleague Gladys.
Yes.
You know, she's been the registrar of judiciary and she's been a lecturer, so she understands these laws. But I think she's talking more as a politician than a lawyer.
Oh.
Because if you look at the process of BBI,
right.
First of all, we must understand where we started. It started with a handshake. What brought us into a handshake is because we had two key leaders fighting over the results of 2017 election. And the country was divided into two halves. So they needed to come together. And in their handshake, we had an agreement, a 9-point agreement, which both of them signed. And that agreement is what triggered the BBI process. And the process, we had a task force, which was properly processed, gazetted, which went around the country, collected views from Kenyans. Then they came, they gave a report. You remember we went to Bomas?
Yes.
And then Bomas 1, we went into validation sessions across the country. Though we saw a lot of drama with some politicians on the other side coming to cause drama, like in Meru, I was there, I saw the drama. And then now we came now to Bomas 2. Bomas 2, I remember issues were there. Even Deputy President raised issues. And most of the issues he raised were captured in the final document. You remember he raised the issues of judiciary, he raised the issues of police service commission, and many other issues. They were largely captured. And then the document was there, presented now to Kenyans to give their signatures. Over 4 million, over 4 million Kenyans appended their signatures. Are we trying to say these 4 million Kenyans did not participate in the process? So this process was a popular initiative. If you look at it, and I'm sure our lawyers are going to argue out this issue very intensely. So I think my sister here, when he says the process was not a popular process,
initiative,
I think he's arguing more as a politician than a lawyer.
First of all, I think it's good for me to give a correction. I tell myself I'm not a pure politician. I am a total public servant. I have served in all arms of government.
Absolutely.
And all my talk, everyone can bear me witness. I never speak on a political front. I have always spoken on the rule of law and fact. I've leveraged on my experience, both in the because I've worked in the legal sector, I've worked in the university, I have worked at the IEBC, I've worked at the judiciary, and now I'm in parliament. I think I never talk like a politician. That's why my statements are never just off the cuff. What my colleague here has done, he has actually made very good submissions to show that it's not a popular initiative. What he has said is that it started with two people talking and they came up with a 9-point agenda. Therein lies the flaw. because that 9-point agenda should have been developed from the people. It should have been the people saying, these are our 9 points that we have issued. It should have been generated from the ground, not from the top, and then it comes to us. What they did is, 2 people decided, then they came to take processes to validate it. You understand?
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so it's the other way around. It could have been a popular initiative if the 9-point agenda had come from the people, and then now there would have been a task force to look into it. Then we come to bombers and so on.
But somebody argued that somebody had to initiate
No,
the
you
process.
don't ratify. In a referendum, you don't bring points, ask people to ratify it, and then say it's a popular initiative from the people. No. And remember, when we say that there are certain parts of the Constitution that cannot be amended,
yes,
it means there are certain parts of the Constitution, they are called eternity clauses. Those clauses can only be amended in the same format in which they were put in the Constitution. So we did not use a 9-point agenda. We took 20 years of various forums in every location in Kenya. It was the most consultative constitution-making process in the world. So if we want to make changes, we have to use the same methodology. And remember, this is not a precedent only set in Kenya. It started in the 1960s in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, went on to Germany, the UK, the US. It is a confirmed legal position and precedent in the Commonwealth. And then, when you talk about saying that it was people came together because Kenya was divided, I think, let me tell you, politics is a competitive game. That's the democracy. Yeah? So what happens is, in every country, there is a loser. But the losers don't go to the street. They don't try and protest. Look what Donald Trump tried to do in America. He was impeached. So the whole point is accepting a loss.
Yes.
Because what stops me, that when I lose, I decide I'll cause mayhem until you shake my hand. So that is not a precedent. Politics is competitive and divided. Imagine if the person who you defeated in your constituency decided to go to the streets, ask for resignation of everybody in the county until you come out of office, or until you tell him, let's enter a coalition government. There is no such thing in a democracy. And let us make the statement that when he says that the team previously their team was unprepared, you must remember that the people who helped defend the case of BBI at the High Court was no less than the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya and the Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. 2 very, very brilliant lawyers. They are the top lawyers in this country. I know Ghetto, I know Kihara Karaoke. I've had the occasion to work with them. They are no mean lawyers whatsoever. So you can't say they were unprepared. You cannot be Attorney General and go and say, I'm just going to make a joke about this case. No. They put their best foot forward, because I think if they didn't, you are actually saying that they actually offered poor legal services to the government of Kenya.
So did they lie to the government?
Be impeached.
Did they lie to the government?
No, they did a good job of trying to defend the case. Unfortunately, when you have a bad case, even if you're a good lawyer, there's nothing you can do about it. But I believe that they put their best foot forward. And I think to say that they were unprepared is like saying that they failed to perform their duties and therefore should be impeached. And again, another thing is that to say that, oh, we didn't prepare in the first case, we are now going to be better prepared at the Court of Appeal. The thing is, whatever you argue at the Court of Appeal are the exact same grounds. You're not allowed to cover new ground or bring new evidence to the Court of Appeal. You basically must go to the... Remember, it is the petitioners who said these are our points for determination delivered before the court. The court then made a determination on each and every one of those points, and in fact gave reasons why they reached that decision, and they gave the law supporting their decision. When you go to the Court of Appeal, you're basically saying that the judges erred in interpreting the law in this manner, or accepting this fact because the fact was wrong, and so on. So that is actually, so you don't have time to do, your case is as good as the one that you put at the lower court, at the trial court. The court, you don't improve your case at the Court of Appeal. It is exactly the same case. And then,
just before we want to
I'm saying I do appreciate that they've gone to the Court of Appeal. And I will appreciate also if after the Court of Appeal, anyone wants to go to the Supreme Court. Why? As an academic lawyer, this for us is exciting. It's like World Cup for us. You know, it's a legal World Cup because it allows us to set a precedent and settle matters forever on certain issues. Because remember, Parliament makes the law. But then the court interprets the law. Because remember, not every explanation on the law can be placed by Parliament. But sometimes when the law is unclear, it's interpreted by the courts, and that interpretation by the courts becomes judge-made law. That's why when you hear the doctrine of basic structure, that doctrine is a precedent that has developed since the 1960s by interpretations of judges until it has become law. And remember, Kenya's law is not only what we have in our law books. Our law is also the pronouncements by the courts. That's why we are saying we are a common law system. Common law means we actually, a part of our law is precedents. And lastly, you remember that when you want to decide what is who can be a promoter for a popular initiative, parliamentary initiative, and so on, this could have been settled. And that's one of the things the court said is that there should have been a referendum law. If you remember, in 2010, Parliament had to pass a law to show the manner in which the referendum should be conducted. Up to how the symbols are developed. So similarly, we should have had a referendum law to tell us, a law to tell us the way you can develop a popular initiative, the way you can take signatures, and so on, if there was any changes in that. So we have those gaps, but I'm happy that it's coming before the court so that we can settle that law.
Mheshimiwa Osotsi, so many points have been raised here, and I know you'll also have your time to argue them one by one. But before then, can we just take a break, then we come back?
Before we take a break,
just 20 seconds. All right, 20 seconds,
before
please.
we take a break, one interesting issue she has brought up is that the handshake was two people, and therefore
we saw them on the
nothing
steps of
popular about that. I want to remind her that we had a similar handshake in 2007 that culminated into the 2010 constitution.
But there was a constitutional amendment by Parliament to support that handshake.
There was a handshake between Kibaki and Raila that culminated into 2010 constitution.
Which Parliament put in the law.
When she says that there is nothing popular about that, I remind her about 2007. And number two, when she says...
Do you agree that they amended the law to adopt the handshake? It was once the Kofi Annan team finished, then the matter was taken to Parliament. Parliament amended the constitution to accommodate a prime minister, a deputy prime minister, and so on. So that was accommodated through a parliamentary initiative. So it wasn't a handshake and gave out a 9-point agenda. It went directly to Parliament, so the law was followed in that case.
But even in this case, the president has powers to appoint a task force. The two individuals, the two politicians, had supporters who were supporting them in the election, and they had almost half supporters. So when she argues that that was not popular, I think our laws must take into account peace-building processes. And even the judges who made this decision, they should have taken into account that constitutional moments arise when we have a crisis all over the world. Even American Constitution, the process started as a result of war and many other things. Even in this country, it is because of post-election violence.
Before we have a crisis, already I have a crisis in my ears here. The director says that I should go for a break. We'll be right back, and when we come back, we've just started, and I told them, for politicians, 45 minutes or one is like a minute. We'll continue after this break. Stay with us.